And it's all about creativity for me. When I know that I have a show scheduled that's usually about a year in advance. Like the previous show that I had here, even though I may have had enough work to show in that particular show, for some reason I'm trying to get out of that now. I'm always waiting until about 6 weeks before the show to start thinking about what I want to show in that exhibition. And in the last show, it worked out. All of the shows, it worked out. I would start stretching canvases. Like for this particular show, I had all of these works ready to show, or most of these works ready to show. But about 6 weeks before the show, I thought about the walls in the gallery and how I wanted the show to look. So I said to myself, I'm going to make about 15 small works for this exhibition. Works about the size of this, maybe. On paper, I thought. And then finally I said to myself, no, I want to make some small works on canvas, because I know I work in a different way. And about 4 weeks before the show, I said, no, I'm going to go ahead and show these works that I already have ready, all 2017 works. But the challenge I like, I think for some reason, I think when I challenge myself to have works ready, let's say 6 weeks before the show, it ends up being 4 weeks. I'm stretching canvases. And sometimes it ends up being 3 weeks before the show. So I mean, I know I could have had small works ready for this particular show, but I said, why? I want to be different this time and show some larger collages, like I haven't shown in a number of years. In the 1980s, early 1980s, I was doing larger collages. In fact, I have a show up at the African American Museum in Dallas now, and that show has a combination of my many different styles of painting, from larger collages to mixed media paintings on papers and all on papers with no collage elements in the works, and also some sculpture works in that particular exhibition. So I like looking at what I've done years earlier in order to see where I'm going as a visual artist. So being inspired is what I'm thinking about now. About 15, 20 years ago, I said to myself, I've seen enough works of art by other artists in museums and books that I probably don't have to look at another work by another artist to be inspired to continue to make works of art. But I still like looking at art, looking at works that other artists made, like going to museums and going to art galleries and going to places where I can see works of art. And it can be art that's totally different from my works of art. Creativity is what I like. And also creativity inspires me as an artist. As a person teaching art, I'm a lecturer. I lecture on art for students. And I teach these understanding visual arts classes. And I like that class because it's like a 1 hour lecture, 1 hour, 15-minute lecture or something like that. I'm looking at art. I'm putting PowerPoints together where I'm showing artworks, and even when I'm teaching, I'm being inspired by looking at works of art and teaching students my works of art. And many times I'm inspired by students. So it's all about, after 30-something years of painting, I want to continue to be inspired, so the works will change. So with these particular works, I started, many of you who know my earlier works know that I was using paper and all kinds of other material, gluing onto the canvas. So in these works, I've gotten away from using painted paper. I'm thinking of the longevity of the works and the permanency of the works. So now I'm using all painted fabric in my works on canvas. I'll spend sometimes weeks and weeks painting pieces of fabrics to use in my works. And now, since I'm using fabric in many of these works, when I put a piece of commercial fabric next to my painted fabric, I look at it and say, it looks kind of weak next to that. So I'm not inspired to use commercial fabric in my work now. It's all mainly painted fabric. I'm using more painted paper and all kinds of things like that in smaller works that are framed under glass. So being inspired keeps me inspired. And of course, like earlier works, the titles come after the work is finished.
So the pieces of fabric are painted first before they're glued on here?
Yes, I spend time painting fabric. Putting fabric, usually canvas, other type of fabric, And it can be commercial fabric that I paint over it too. So I take time just to spend a few days painting the fabric. And then I'm cutting and gluing the fabric down to the canvas too. In these more recent ones.
Are you looking at different fabrics because of their texture, the physical texture of that?
Well, because I stopped using paper and all kinds of other materials on the canvas, I have to look at the textures and different types of fabrics now.
Right.
Like burlap
Right.
and sackcloth and things like that. So you're right, it's texture now. Thin fabric, thick fabric, rough, smooth. I'm thinking about that now. To have all those elements still working in a good visual way in my collages.
The whole surface is active. Where do you start and how do you start? And does the cloth go on, the fabric go on at the end?
Okay, that's something I wanted to talk about too. In some of these works, I used to start just by putting something down in the middle of the surface at the end. In many of these works, I tried to challenge myself by starting in a corner, start on an edge, where I used to start in the center or somewhere out from the edges. And on some of these works, I started at the corner, or I started at this corner. I think more creative things happen when I start that way. So now, and in some of these works, I painted the whole surface one flat color, because I know that if I put something down here, I may want that same color that's no collage elements on to show through on this side, and it's already painted. So I'm sensing creativity when I do. So in some of these, I painted over. And some I did abstract paintings first, and then ended up covering all that up with flat elements. So I have to do that in order to get something creative going.
So like in this piece, you have actual some faces, hands.
Yeah.
Do those just emerge as you're doing the piece, or did you think about it ahead of time?
I was that's a work that I see.
As well as the name.
That particular one is called Sheeper. Roman Revere did a work called Sheeper, and of all the collages that he did, that's one of my favorite works. And over the past year or so, I've been looking at themes that other artists have been working on, like themes that Renaissance artists have worked on. I did a work called Susanna and the Elders. I'm looking at themes that other artists worked on to try to bring some of those themes in my collages. So that's from Sheeper. And I knew I wanted a Sheeper face to show in that. I didn't know how it would look, but it ended up being Sheeper in the profile. And you can see her face in a veil figure too. So I'm trying to work with themes that earlier artists have worked with too. And I think I'm going to, over the next, in more of my upcoming works, I think you're going to see more themes that artists have worked with. That's something I want to challenge myself with. Just to be creative. You know, musicians work with themes, visual artists work with themes, so I'm trying to pull from, I guess, from the old masters. So, yeah.
You titled your exhibition "Soulful Journey," and you just mentioned, attended church today. How does your spirituality or your faith connect with your paintings?
Actually, that title for this show came about, we had a faculty exhibition at Southern University, and there was one wall that we needed to put some works on. So I said to myself, okay, I'll challenge myself and I've always wanted to do an installation. So I said, okay, I'll take that wall and do an installation. I'm not at Southern University. I'll do an installation on that wall. So I thought about it and looked at it, and I did, I think, 7 drawings, big drawings of the wall. And I used chains and ropes. Imagine 7 drawings on that wall with chains and ropes. And then I had African masks next, combined with that, African and masks from different cultures. So while making those drawings, I felt everything was flowing, very expressionistic type drawing. And I said, it feels as if I'm on a creative journey just flowing with the graphite material. And that word soulful, it felt like a spiritual journey, just drawing. So that title came from that Soulful Journey. It's like related to religion, related to Christianity. Just I felt a sense of flowing and a creative spirit was at work, and it felt like a good soulful journey.
Okay, so your color scheme, I noticed it's all very similar, and over the years, this is kind of your color.
Yeah.
So is it that this is the formula that you love, or is it just that it always ends up this way? Is there a conscious decision to go with that color scheme?
About a year, less than a year ago, I ordered just a whole lot of paint, big containers of paint, all kinds of different colors, and I bought some little containers to mix the paint in. That's a good question, man. I brought some little containers to take paint from those big containers and mix. I spent about a week or so just mixing colors, and I still don't have the colors I want. So these keep coming back. So I bought more little containers, and I have a mix of colors. So hopefully I'll be able to mix those colors, mix again. But these colors just continue to come back for some reason. I'm trying to get some new colors working, even when I'm mixing colors. These continue to come back. So, I don't know why that is.
Maybe you're comfortable with this?
So, I'm trying to get out of that being comfortable with these colors.
Okay.
I would mix and say, no, I use that. It hasn't worked yet. Even though I even bought more paint too. So it hasn't worked out. But still, I like this. I like the colors I'm using too.